Hi there. Welcome to today's story. If you've ever felt like you are constantly on, always needed, always pushing, and yet slowly losing touch with yourself, then this one might speak to you in a powerful way. Today, we're sharing the emotional journey of Dr. Aris Thorne, a brilliant heart surgeon who spent his life saving others, until his own body forced him to stop. This is From Saving Lives to Saving Myself, My Burnout Journey. Let's begin. Dr. Aris Thorne, a man whose very name seemed synonymous with cutting-edge cardiology, found himself staring into the abyss. Not the metaphorical abyss of a patient teetering on the edge of cardiac arrest, but a far more insidious and personal one. Burnout he'd always been on. From his relentless pursuit of academic excellence at Harvard Medical School to his pioneering research on minimally invasive heart surgery techniques, Aris had relentlessly chased achievement. He'd skipped meals, neglected sleep, and dismissed the nagging aches and pains as mere inconveniences. He was a machine, a finely tuned instrument dedicated to saving lives. His colleagues marveled at his stamina, his unwavering focus, and his encyclopedic knowledge of the human cardiovascular system. He was the go-to guy, the one who could pull off the impossible, the doctor who never said no. He thrived on the adrenaline rush of emergency surgeries, the intellectual challenge of complex diagnoses, and the gratitude of patients whose lives he had touched. He was a hero, and he knew it. But beneath the veneer of unflappable competence, a slow, insidious decay was taking place. The constant pressure, the sleep deprivation, and the emotional toll of dealing with life and death situations were gradually eroding his mental and physical well-being. The once bright spark in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by a weary, haunted look. The spring in his step had vanished, replaced by a heavy, dragging gait. It started subtly. He found it increasingly difficult to concentrate, his mind wandering during consultations and surgical procedures. He became irritable, snapping at nurses and colleagues over minor infractions. He lost his appetite, forcing himself to eat tasteless meals that provided little sustenance. Sleep became a luxury, a fleeting escape from the relentless demands of his profession. He would lie in bed for hours, his mind racing with anxieties and worries, only to drift off into a restless, dream-filled slumber. His personal life suffered as well. His wife, Eleanor, a renowned art historian, had grown increasingly concerned about his well-being. She tried to coax him into taking time off, suggesting weekend getaways, or even a longer vacation. But Aris stubbornly refused, convinced that he was indispensable, that the hospital couldn't function without him. His children, twins Alex and Maya, barely saw him. Dinners were rushed, conversations were perfunctory, and bedtime stories were a distant memory. He was physically present, but emotionally absent, a ghost haunting the halls of his own home. The breaking point came during a particularly grueling week. He'd performed 3 emergency heart transplants, dealt with a sudden surge of patients suffering from a particularly virulent strain of influenza, and navigated a political minefield within the hospital administration. He hadn't slept properly in days, surviving on copious amounts of coffee and sheer willpower. He was running on fumes, his body screaming for rest. Then, during a routine angioplasty, his hands began to tremble. He fumbled with the catheter, momentarily losing his grip. The patient, a middle-aged man named Mr. Peterson, began to experience chest pain. Aris, panicked and disoriented, struggled to regain control. The procedure, which should have taken a few minutes, stretched into an agonizing hour. Finally, exhausted and humiliated, he managed to complete the angioplasty, but the damage was done. He'd made a mistake, a potentially fatal one, and he knew it. Afterward, he retreated to his office, his heart pounding, his head throbbing. He sat slumped in his chair, staring blankly at the wall. The weight of his responsibilities, the relentless pressure, the crushing fatigue, finally overwhelmed him. He felt a wave of nausea wash over him, followed by a sharp pain in his chest. He gasped for air, his vision blurring. He knew, with chilling certainty, that he was having a heart attack. He managed to reach for the phone and dial 911, his voice barely a whisper. Then he collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. He awoke in a hospital bed, surrounded by familiar faces. Eleanor was there, her eyes red and swollen with tears. Alex and Maya were there, their faces etched with worry. And Dr. Ramirez, his colleague and friend, was there, his expression grave. "You're lucky to be alive, Aris," Dr. Ramirez said, his voice gentle but firm. "You had a severe myocardial infarction. We managed to stabilize you, but you need to take things seriously. You can't keep pushing yourself like this." Aris looked at Eleanor, at his children, at Dr. Ramirez. He saw the pain in their eyes, the fear in their hearts. He realized, with a profound sense of shame, that he had been so focused on saving others that he had forgotten to save himself. He had sacrificed his health, his family, and his own well-being on the altar of ambition. "I know," he said, his voice hoarse. "I know I need to change." The road to recovery was long and arduous. He spent weeks in the hospital, undergoing cardiac rehabilitation and receiving counseling. He learned to manage his stress, to prioritize his health, and to reconnect with his family. He started exercising regularly, eating healthy meals, and getting enough sleep. He practiced mindfulness, learning to focus on the present moment and to let go of his anxieties. He also made some difficult decisions about his career. He stepped down as the head of the cardiology department, relinquishing some of his responsibilities. He delegated more tasks to his colleagues, trusting them to handle the workload. He learned to say no, to set boundaries, and to prioritize his own well-being. It wasn't easy. He struggled with feelings of guilt, inadequacy, and fear. He worried that he was letting his patients down, that he was no longer the hero they had come to rely on. But Eleanor and his children were unwavering in their support, reminding him of the importance of self-care and the value of a balanced life. Slowly but surely, he began to heal. His energy returned, his focus sharpened, and his sense of humor resurfaced. He rediscovered his passion for cardiology, but this time he approached it with a newfound sense of perspective. He realized that he couldn't save everyone, that he couldn't control every outcome, and that it was okay to ask for help. He also realized that his health was his most valuable asset, that without it, he couldn't be a good doctor, a good husband, or a good father. He learned to listen to his body, to recognize the warning signs of stress and fatigue, and to take steps to prevent burnout. One sunny afternoon, several months after his heart attack, Aris found himself sitting on a park bench, watching Alex and Maya play frisbee. Eleanor sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm. He felt a sense of peace and contentment wash over him. He was alive, he was healthy, and he was surrounded by the people he loved. "Thank you," he said, turning to Eleanor. "Thank you for helping me see what's important." Eleanor smiled. "You did it yourself, Aris," she said. "You had the strength to change. I just helped you find it." Aris watched his children, their laughter echoing through the park. He knew that he had made mistakes, that he had neglected his health and his family. But he also knew that he had learned from those mistakes, that he had grown stronger and wiser. He was no longer the machine he had once been, the relentless, driven doctor who sacrificed everything for his career. He was a human being, flawed but resilient, capable of both great achievements and profound self-care. He was finally, authentically, well. He understood then that true health wasn't just the absence of disease. It was a holistic state of well-being that encompassed physical, mental, and emotional balance. It was about nurturing his body, mind, and spirit, and about prioritizing his relationships with the people he loved. It was about being present in the moment, appreciating the simple joys of life and finding meaning and purpose in his work. He also started advocating for better working conditions for doctors and nurses, raising awareness about the dangers of burnout and promoting strategies for self-care. He became a champion for mental health, encouraging his colleagues to seek help when they needed it and to prioritize their own well-being. He shared his own story, hoping to inspire others to make positive changes in their lives. He learned to meditate, finding solace and clarity in the quiet stillness of his own mind. He took up painting, expressing his emotions and finding creative outlets for his stress. He spent more time with his family, going on hikes, playing games, and simply enjoying each other's company. He rediscovered the joy of cooking, experimenting with healthy recipes, and sharing his culinary creations with his loved ones. He learned to appreciate the beauty of nature, spending hours in his garden, tending to his flowers and vegetables. He also reconnected with old friends, rekindling relationships that had been neglected for years. He realized that social connections were essential for his well-being, that he needed the support and companionship of others to thrive. He even started volunteering at a local soup kitchen, helping to feed the homeless and providing them with a sense of community. He found that giving back to others gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment, that it helped him to appreciate his own blessings. Years passed. Aris continued to practice cardiology, but he did so with a renewed sense of balance and purpose. He was no longer driven by ambition or fear, but by a genuine desire to help others and to make a positive impact on the world. He was a better doctor, a better husband, a better father, and a better human being. One evening, as he was preparing for bed, Eleanor came into the bedroom and wrapped her arms around him. "You know," she said, "I'm so proud of you. You've come so far." Aris smiled and kissed her forehead. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "You're my rock, my inspiration, my everything." He looked at himself in the mirror, studying his reflection. He saw the lines on his face, the gray in his hair, the weariness in his eyes. But he also saw something else, a quiet strength, a deep resilience, and a profound sense of peace. He was no longer on all the time. He had learned to turn himself off, to recharge his batteries, and to prioritize his own well-being. And in doing so, he had discovered the true meaning of health. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you've ever felt like you are giving your all to others, but forgetting to care for yourself, you are not alone. Dr. Aris Thorne's journey is a powerful reminder that even the strongest among us need rest, need healing, and need support. That true strength isn't about being on all the time. It's about knowing when to pause and finding the courage to begin again differently. If this story resonated with you, take a moment today, even a small one, to check in with yourself, to breathe, to rest, to say yes to your own well-being. And if you know someone who's been running on empty, share this story with them. It might be the gentle nudge they need. Until next time, take care of your heart, not just the one that beats, but the one that feels, that hopes, and that heals.